Hey YouTube, Tom Houston with Tom Houston Photography here. This is my Antelope Canyon video. I decided to make this video by itself and not with the other things I did around Page because there was so much detail and so much stuff I wanted to say about it that I decided to make its own video. So I will be talking a little fast because there is a lot of stuff I want to say about Antelope Canyon. First, I highly recommend going here. It was an amazing place. It was probably one of the most epic things I've ever seen in my life, which is saying a lot. And it was a photographer's dream. Like I don't think I actually looked around the canyon without my camera glued to my face, which is probably a bad thing, but it means I got a lot of photos. So you can balance that out if you go there, how much you want to just gawk at how awesome that place is compared to snapping a whole bunch of pictures. So what you do is you get there and you park on this gravel parking lot, and then you go to the far side of it and book your tour, basically, because they have to drive you to the canyon, and this is all Navajo territory. So they drive you to the canyon in a pickup truck that's rigged to fit people sitting in the bed of the truck, and it fits about, I think it was 16 people or so, give or take, in the back of one of these pickup trucks, and it was one of the bumpiest, craziest rides I've ever been on to this canyon. We had a younger Navajo guide who passed about 4 trucks that left roughly 10 minutes before us, so he was booking it. But it made it kind of exciting. So hold on to your hat for sure during that drive. And then when you get there, you stay in a group through the first leg of the canyon. So you'll be with 16 other people or so, and you'll be taking pictures and you'll just be behind other groups. And then as you're going through, there's other people coming back, because it's like you walk to the far end and then you can make your way without your group back to the point, as long as you make it there before your truck leaves. So they usually give you about 15-20 minutes to do that. So as you're going through the canyon, there are some big open, well, not big, but there are open areas where you can kind of huddle up in your tour group, let's say, with your guide, and they talk about some things sometimes and give you some history and tell you some stories. And as you're doing this, you kind of go group by group through section of the thing as people are trickling their way back through the canyon. So I would highly recommend never going here in the summer. Just flat out, I wouldn't even bother. There was probably around 160, 180 people in the canyon while I was there, and it was borderline unpleasant for both comfort-wise and just photography. So you really couldn't get shots without people in it if you wanted like the ground to ceiling type shots. So what I did was I usually shot a little bit above head height for all of my shots. So if you go to my website and you look at those shots, most, if not, well, probably like 95% of the shots are head height and up of the canyon, just because there were so many people. I was lucky to get a couple shots of the actual whole canyon without any people in it, thankfully. But that was just as we got there, and I'm sure it is a little hard to get that. So more advice, there's different times that you can book to get a tour, and if you go in the morning, I've heard it's really red. There's a lot of red just because where the sun is. And then if you go at noon, you get these sun rays coming down into the canyon. So that's when I went. I went for the 12:30, 12 o'clock tour, something like that. So you get the beautiful sun rays coming down, hitting the floor. And then in the afternoon, I've read, you get a little more blue tinge to your photos. Now, one of my shots I shot in, well, all of my shots I shot raw, so I could change the white balance. And if you change the white balance just a little in your, well, in my noon time shots, I could add a little blue tinge into some of my photos, which I think helped my photos a whole bunch for some of them, because the white beams of light were obviously blown out. So it brought back some color into that white, which I think helped. So that's some more advice. Also, bring a tripod. Don't go in there, or a monopod. Monopod might actually almost work better. For a couple of shots, I did actually have all three legs out. But the problem with that is that it takes up a lot of real estate in a canyon that does not have a lot of space. So what I ended up doing was just walking around with my tripod fully extended, but all the legs closed, and just using it as a monopod, pretty much. And this worked really well for most of the shots, because I could shoot at like 1/15th, 1/10th of a second, something like that, and it wasn't blurry. Usually what I did was I took like 3 shots quickly in succession, so that the middle one was usually sharp. This is a technique I've done before. I don't know if that's actually a good technique or not, but works for me. And let's see if there's anything else I'd written down other than don't go in the summer. Oh yes, this year, so 2012, they upped their prices to try to cut down on the number of people coming to the canyon. I don't think it's going to make any difference. They doubled it from $20 to $40 or whatever. So again, don't go in the summer. I'm sure it's a gong show. More advice is there is an actual photography tour that they do, which is twice as long. Instead of going for 1 hour, you go for 2 hours. And I was recommended not to do that. And I think it was probably a good idea, because you can just go for $40 instead of $80 a person, and 1 hour is quite enough. But what I found was there were a couple of people that were obviously on the extended photography tour, and that just means you have more time to kick around in the canyon after you walk through, for better or for worse, because there was one guy probably was getting outstanding photos with his D800 with a 14 to 24. But he set up his tripod right in a narrow part of the canyon and actually blocked all traffic going through. I wouldn't be too annoyed with that normally, but since I had to kind of stay with my group and he kind of blocked that, blocked the canyon off, so I couldn't actually catch up with my group, it was a little annoying. So if you do go to Antelope Canyon, do be cautious and just think about everyone else in the canyon trying to get those shots. I think if everyone is respectful and understands that people are trying to get photos, because everyone is trying to get photos there, I think it would be a lot easier for everyone to get photos if everyone's self-conscious about that, but that's just my advice. So I would highly recommend going. And another thing that might be a good idea, if you have asthma or any respiratory issue, maybe bring like a bandana and pull the whole bandit thing and tie a bandana around your mouth, because it gets really, really sandy and really dusty in there, because there's like a foot of sand in the bottom of the canyon, and when you have 160 people or more walking through that, it does kick up a lot of dust. So some of the guides had that, because I'm sure they probably won't have great lungs by the end of their touring life because of so much inhalation of dust. So you might want to bring a bandana or something. And by the time I came out of there, I was covered in sand. I had sand in my ears, I had sand on my face because it just sticks to you. I had sunscreen on, so it probably stuck to that, or my sweat. It was a lot of sand. And that is also a good tip for your equipment. I would pick one lens and not switch it if you have one body. I would not advise taking off a lens inside that canyon if you could help it. So watch out for the dust. Don't have your camera bag open, anything like that, because that dust will get everywhere, and you don't want sand in any of your photography equipment because sand and glass just don't go so well together. So I think that is most of my advice. I will toss up a couple photos after this of just some shots I got. But again, highly recommend going. I would just go in the not peak season because I don't even want to know what that place looks like in peak season, because our guide was saying that not all of the tour groups were running at that time when we went. So there's even more trucks that would be there. And if you want really good photos, you probably wouldn't even get them. So don't go in peak season. So I hope that helps. And again, I'll toss those photos up. Cheers.